If I said to you the word adventure, what do you think of? Extraordinary, daring, unpredictable? Africa. So when I was given the opportunity to spend 2 weeks touring one of Africa's most incredible countries, there could only be one answer. There would be lions, elephants, vast landscapes and amazing sunsets. We would meet some of the most inspiring people whose work continues to transform our view of conservation. And we'd make so many memories that will impact our lives for years to come. This is truly the adventure of a lifetime. This is Namibia. Our journey began in July 2019. A group of 12 students along with the beloved Mr. Burridge and Mrs. Black set off on a 2-week trip to Namibia, beginning in its capital city, Windhoek. After an 11-hour flight to Johannesburg and 2-hour flight to the capital, we met with Peter, our tour leader, and it was clear to see the passion and love that he has for his job. We also met the strongest thing we'd see over the next 2 weeks, our truck. Its soft suspension and, of course, our driver, Zed, made the trip feel like we were in a limousine. Well, nearly. We spent our first night at a lodge just outside Windhoek. While we were all exhausted from the travel, this trip was just getting started. At precisely 7 minutes past 8 the following morning, our trip well and truly began. Re-energised and motivated, we began our journey northwards before a brief fuel stop.
Looking very jolly today, Rafe.
I am. I'm actually in a properly good mood.
You look snappy.
As we returned to the road, we headed for the headquarters of Africat, a foundation whose slogan is conservation through education. They focus on the conservation of Namibia's large carnivores and are based at a nature reserve called Okajima. During our time there, we were looked after by a guy called Johan and his wife Marika. Johan said that people cried twice at Okajima, once when they saw the place for the first time and once when they had to leave. And as we arrived, we too fell victim of his claim. The beauty of the site and passion of the people here drew an impression that far exceeded any expectation I could have had.
How amazing it is.
Our first excursion was a trip to the education centre, where we saw for ourselves the brutal instruments used to bring down mammals. It was surely one of the most saddening moments of the trip, but also highlighted the importance of the work being done here. It was also my first time on the back of a pickup, which is actually illegal in the UK. Imagine being driven through the African countryside, the wind blowing through your hair, and Marika at the wheel, who doesn't slow down for anyone. Something so small yet so exhilarating. It was truly...
Alright, so the toilets here are actually mad. It's literally the coolest view and you like, you know.
Alright, bro.
We spent the night in big tents before walking to a high point in time for sunrise. Following Marika's amazing breakfast, our first full day was spent as a game drive around the reserve. Now, the GoPro that I filmed this on doesn't come with zoom, so instead I aligned the camera on my phone with the lens of my binoculars. Among others, we saw Springbok, kudu, zebra, impala and oryx. Oh, and some beautiful Namibian birds. But the highlight was no doubt the leopard that we tracked in the afternoon. Despite being incredibly well camouflaged, even I managed to spot it.
Just found a leopard.
Maybe a few months, but they look two. Mother, cub.
Not one, two.
Two, absolutely.
He's got 2 cubs.
That evening we packed our truck full of supplies and drove up to a dry riverbed where we'd be spending the night. After raiding the nearby trees for firewood, we set up camp and watched the sun go down, along with the last of the day's heat. Following a night walk, we turned in for what would be one of the coldest nights of the year. What's more, we'd each have to spend 2 hours of the night on night watch, which is basically to sit cosily around the campfire with your mates while apparently stopping any animals. Me, being the smallest of all, was especially worried. Night watch complete, we lay down and slept under the stars. The following morning we were awoken by the calls of hyena and some really numb feet. After packing away our kit, we spent the rest of our time at Okajima on game drives where we saw warthog, hartebeest and giraffe. Johan also took us to a protected site where we could see cheetahs and lions up close, And, well, I think the pictures speak for themselves.
Doesn't mean they all bad. And it's good teaching tools. Good teaching tools. She's really acting up with you guys this morning.
On day 5 of our trip, we returned to the road where we continued our journey northwards. Our destination, Okukuyo in Etosha National Park.
This city was built on rock and roll.
PG
Dogs
vlog.
say when they sneeze.
With our truck equipped with tents, we settled down in the camping area following a long day of travel. After the sunset over dinner, we found ourselves desperately trying to stay awake at the waterhole where we saw white rhino and giraffe, before eventually calling it a day. We spent most of our time at Okukuyo on game drives. As a general rule, finding a waterhole would often lead to finding animals. And within the few minutes that we spent at each one, the scene would continuously transform with groups of animals arriving and leaving as they pleased. As the truck stopped, I'd scum off my binoculars, focus them by and dash to align the camera of my phone with the lens. Here's some of my best shots.
What's that?
It's a lion.
A lion? That is a lion.
The next day, we headed west through Etosha towards Olifantras. En route, the road surface deteriorated from uneven to non-existent. Fortunately, this was rectified when we realised that Zed was in control of our stereo. That evening in our new campsite, 2 of us went up to the waterhole where we unmistakably heard the roar of a lion.
They must be hearing that. They're gonna come running. Be the guys. Did you see it? No. What? You didn't even see it here. I couldn't.
We were reunited with Africat on day 8 of our trip as we headed southwest through Etosha towards the Hoppateri concession. After settling down and pitching our tents, we were introduced to Tammy, the director of Africat, who showed us around the site.
Hey yo, what's up Vlog Nation? It's your boys back for another sick ass vlog. We're just loving all these vibes. Isn't that right, Bobby?
That is right.
Are you all dressed up?
Yes.
Beautiful shirt.
No, I want to.
On our first full day at Hoppateri, we visited a school in a remote village. Tammy told us of how the school used to be made up of one large tent for grades 1 to 3. I remember her saying that if someone told a joke in one of the classes, then kids across the whole tent would start laughing. Africat has since brought in materials from 600 kilometers away to build 2 classrooms made from shipping containers. During our visit, we helped build the playground and also joined in a few games with the children to teach them about conservation. As we arrived, the children sang us a song they had prepared. It was incredible to witness their joy and excitement of meeting us and playing games together. But it was also amazing to see the impact of the work being done here. One small school, but 60 young lives transformed. The following day, we returned to the pickups in the early hours. After spotting the likes of Giraffe in the morning, we were told of nearby lions over the radio. As we headed over, we were caught in the dust of the truck ahead. Fortunately for our driver, Zed, and my right foot, this was no problem. In the evening we visited a local farmer. In this really dry year for Namibia, the cattle have become weak and easy targets for lions. Unfortunately, many farmers have responded by eliminating them. Africat works with farmers to help conserve lions as well as hyena. They've installed lion guards and affordable solar-powered flashlights, which both deter predators in the dark. I was staggered to see the direct impact of a seemingly small initiative on lion conservation, but limited funding for organisations such as Africat could prolong it reaching its true potential. Day 11 saw us embark on the longest journey of our trip, a 6-hour drive to the coastal city of Swakopmund.
So we're about an hour away from Swakopmund and there's clouds in the sky and it's actually quite cold.
After chilling in our hotel, we had a great meal at a beachside restaurant before turning in for the night. After an early start, we spent our final morning by the coast in Walvis Bay, where we went sea kayaking. En route we saw both greater and lesser flamingos, but most common were undoubtedly the Cape Fur seals. As we pulled up on the beach, we were welcomed by their calls. But we also saw something far less welcoming, a seal stuck in a piece of plastic. Fortunately on this occasion, our tour guide was able to rescue it.
Oh no, please don't. Oh god.
In the afternoon we made our way to Gobabeb, a research centre around 50 kilometres inland in the Namib Desert. After settling down we were looked after by a guy called Greg who gave us a tour of the site. On a night walk we saw scorpions illuminated by UV light and a gecko. But for me the most impressive thing was the true silence. Away from the chaos of urbanisation there were no cars, no aeroplanes, no background noise whatsoever. As I looked up it was the same story, a void of darkness scattered only with the stars of the night sky. We began our last day at Gobabeb with a sunrise walk. In the bitter conditions of the early morning, we were given a brief tour of the sand dunes, including some oryx footprints. In the afternoon, we visited the gravel plains to the north of the Namib, two completely different ecosystems that meet at Gobabeb. That evening, after returning to camp, our mission was simple: to climb the sand dunes in time to watch the sun go down. With the sunset and winds picking up, it was time to return to camp. But then, who walks down a sand dune?
I'm really full. Okay.
It was at this moment that I too submitted to the idea of rolling down. I let myself fall onto the cool, silky sand, allowing gravity to take its natural course. With each roll came a surge of excitement, eventually coming to a halt at the base of the dune. As I looked up, my head still spinning, I feel for my right pocket, and find it empty except for a heap of sand. In disbelief, I announced to the group that I'd buried my phone in a sand dune. Everything slows down. The 1,500 photos that I'd taken rushed through my head. All the incredible stories that I'd noted down from Okanjima, Etosha, Hoboteri. And that I'd have nothing to show for this trip. No photos and no movie, which I'd been planning from day one. As my teacher hails no one would find my phone in a million years, I'd begin to come to terms with what had happened. And I realised that no matter how many photos you take, or how amazing a movie you can make, you can't keep everything with you forever. Except for your experiences. No matter where I am, I'll remember this trip forever. Seeing all those animals up close, meeting so many incredible people, and being educated on a topic that I keep finding myself return to. But I also saw that no matter what anyone says, anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And as I look up to show myself, I see my friend Tom clutching my phone. Having been given the opportunity to share my story, I can only hope I've done it justice. That evening we each shared our highlights as we sat around the campfire for one last time. On our final day we travelled back to Windhoek where we chilled by the pool before going out to a restaurant in the evening.